All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into some serious stuff.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about DJ Kulet.
Oh, wow, yeah. Big name in Nigeria.
Huge. And she just dropped a bombshell on Instagram about her husband, his Emmanuel.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happened?
Well, there's this article on Niger News. It's called, get this, Sexual Abuse of 13-Year-Old Minor Was the Final Straw DJ Kulet Dumps Husband Over Infidelity.
Whoa, that's heavy.
My husband, talk wetin you dey do inside car.
I don't get
You don't-
attention.
You don't get infection.
Favour no ma.
Come
Bó
inside.
ṣe wà yẹn kò mọ
Favour,
ọkùnrin lọ
speak up.
títí.
You and who did my husband talk wetin you dey do inside car.
Used to molest my friend with inside car. Every
Yeah, everyone in location thought she and her husband, what was his name? Husband's name, right?
Right, husband's name.
They seemed like, I don't know, the perfect couple.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you really look into it, things weren't exactly as they seemed.
No, not at all.
Hmm.
And from what I read, it seems like things started getting a little rocky between them.
Yeah, I mean, the sources mentioned this growing distance between them. He was being really secretive, disappearing for long stretches of time and not really saying where he was going.
Oh, wow.
And that's got to be tough, right? I mean, for
Oh,
anyone.
absolutely. I mean, at first she thought he was cheating.
Yeah, that's a pretty natural assumption.
Which, let's be real, a lot of us have probably been there, right?
Mm.
Like that gut feeling that something's just not right.
Yeah, totally. But what DJ Kulet uncovered went way beyond just infidelity. I mean, what she found out was just devastating.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. I mean, her husband was involved with the abuse of a minor, a 13-year-old.
It's just unthinkable. And you can only imagine what that must have been like for her to discover the betrayal, the shock.
I mean, it's got to be just crushing. Like, how do you even begin to process something like that?
And on top of everything else, it suddenly becomes so much bigger than just her own pain, right? There's this whole other layer of responsibility now.
Absolutely. And that's where you see DJ Kulet really step up. I mean, leaving him wasn't just about getting out of a bad marriage. It became this powerful statement.
Yeah, it was like she was drawing a line in the sand. Like, this is not okay, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Right. It was about protecting others, protecting the vulnerable.
And that takes so much courage. I mean, think about it. She could have stayed silent. It might have been easier, maybe even safer in some ways. But she chose to speak up.
And leaving that life, it couldn't have been easy. I mean, she was walking away from everything she'd built. Her whole world was probably just imploding.
Yeah, not to mention the public scrutiny that comes with something like this. It's got to be incredibly difficult to deal with all that emotional turmoil on top of everything else.
Oh, for sure. Leaving any kind of abusive situation is tough. But what really struck me was how she had this whole support system that just rallied around her.
Yeah, her friends, her family, even her listeners, they all came together to support her.
It really makes you realize how important it is to have people you can lean on during those times, right?
Absolutely. That sense of community, knowing you're not alone, that can make all the difference in the world.
So did that support play a big role in her healing? Like, was that key to her being able to move forward?
Definitely. I mean, the sources talk about therapy, of course, and leaning on her loved ones and just finding that inner strength. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't just survive this, you know, she actually, she evolved. And that's where you see this shift from victim to advocate. She started using her pain to help others, to raise awareness about abuse.
It's like she took this horrible thing and turned it into something positive, something powerful.
Exactly. And that's what's so inspiring about her story.
It really makes you think about how we all have the potential to turn our struggles into something meaningful. So how did she actually make that transition, from just surviving to really thriving?
Well, what's interesting is she didn't shy away from talking about it. I mean, she was very open about the abuse and how difficult the recovery process was.
Wow.
And I think that vulnerability was key. It let her connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
It gave others permission to share their own stories.
That's so true. It's by being so open about her own experience, she was able to help others break their silence,
Yeah, she showed them that healing is possible, that you can rebuild your life even after something so traumatic. Absolutely, it's incredibly powerful. And it's so inspiring to see how she took all that pain and turned it into something, I don't know, something good, Like, it just proves that even when things are really bad, you can still grow from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings up another really important part of DJ Kulet's story, trusting your instincts. Remember how we were talking about those early signs, how things just felt off?
Yeah, like she had that feeling that something wasn't right.
Exactly, that nagging feeling that something's not quite adding up. It's so easy to just brush those feelings aside, right?
Totally. Like you start questioning yourself, like, am I just being paranoid?
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe we're afraid to admit that something might be seriously wrong. Or maybe it's just easier to pretend everything's fine.
Right, like who wants to deal with that, right?
Hmm.
But DJ Kulet, she didn't ignore those feelings. She actually went looking for answers, even though it was probably the last thing she wanted to do.
Exactly. And that takes guts, to face that potential pain head on.
It does. And I think it also says a lot about knowing your worth, right? Like knowing you deserve to feel safe and respected.
Absolutely. And if something feels off, you have every right to question it, to dig deeper. And that's what she did.
Yeah. And, going through something like this, it must have taken a toll on her. I mean, self-care had to be so important.
Oh, absolutely. Giving yourself permission to grieve, to process everything that happened, to get the support you need, that's crucial.
Because you can't just pretend like it didn't happen, right? Like,
Okay.
It takes time to heal.
Right. And it's not always a straight line, There are going to be good days and bad days. And that's okay.
Yeah. But it's like, how do you balance that need to take care of yourself with all that pressure to just move on,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think it's about pushing back against those expectations, realizing that there's no timeline for healing.
Right. It's different for everyone.
Exactly. And being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace, and having those people around you who understand that, who support you without pushing you.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And what's amazing is how DJ Kulet took this awful experience and used it to help others. Like, she could have just retreated from the public eye completely.
Right. But instead, she did the opposite.
Yeah, she didn't just talk about it. She actually worked to make things better, to raise awareness, to connect with other survivors, to change policies.
Yeah. And, that really speaks to the power of our stories, right? Like, by sharing her experience, she might have helped countless other people.
Yeah, people who might be going through the same thing or who know someone who is, it shows them that they're not alone.
Absolutely. And that it's okay to speak up, that silence only protects the abusers.
Right. And that by speaking up, we can create a world where abuse isn't tolerated, where victims feel supported and know that healing is possible.
And it's a testament to the human spirit, DJ Kulet's story shows us that even when something terrible happens, we can still find a way to heal, to grow, to make a difference.
It's really powerful. Like, even when we feel broken, there's still that strength inside us. Do you think her story offers hope to people who are dealing with similar situations?
Absolutely. It's like a reminder that you're not alone, that healing is possible, that even after something really dark, you can come out stronger on the other side.
It's like she's saying, if I can get through this, you can too.
Exactly. And that's such a powerful message to hold on to no matter what challenges you're facing.
And it's amazing to think about how her story has, I don't know, like changed the way people talk about abuse and healing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's had this ripple effect.
Right. And one thing that DJ Kulet's story really highlights is forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or saying it was okay. It's about letting go of that anger and resentment that can hold you back.
Mm-hmm. So it's not really about the other person, right? It's about you.
Exactly. It's about freeing yourself from that pain.
Which I imagine is a lot easier said than done.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It takes a lot of work, and it's not always easy. But ultimately, forgiveness is about moving on with your life, not letting the past control you.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because we always hear that saying forgive and forget. But like you said, real forgiveness is not about forgetting, is it?
No, not at all. It's about acknowledging what happened, working through it, and choosing to let go of those negative emotions.
Yeah. That's really powerful. And it's exactly what DJ Kulet did. She could have let all that anger and resentment consume her, but she didn't.
Nope. She rose above it, and she used her experience to help others do the same.
Which is incredible. It shows that even after going through something so terrible, we can still heal and grow.
And it's about realizing that we have choices. Like, we can let adversity break us, or we can use it to become stronger.
Absolutely. And DJ Kulet, she chose to become stronger. And her willingness to share her story, that was a huge part of it.
Yeah, that vulnerability really resonated with people.
And it gave others permission to open up too, right? Like to share their own experiences without feeling ashamed.
Exactly. Because vulnerability, when it's real, it can be so powerful. It helps us connect with each other, build real relationships.
It creates this sense of community, like, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah, you're not alone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into DJ Kulet's story, What's the biggest takeaway you hope people will remember?
Well, I think her story is a reminder that even when things seem hopeless, healing is always possible.
Yeah.
And it shows us how strong we all are, even when we don't feel like it, and how important it is to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and to believe in ourselves.
You know, it's like she's showing us that no matter how dark things get, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. And that's a message we could all use a little more of.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that was a powerful deep dive into resilience, healing, and the strength of the human spirit. Thanks for joining us today.
And until next time, keep asking those tough questions and diving deep into the stories that shape our world.